Hey, yo, welcome back to the Paralyzed the Prosperous podcast, where apparently people's phones are still on, and I hear noise in the background, but it's all good. It's all good. We have a wonderful week. We have a
Hey,
wonderful podcast today, man. So we have, of course, we have my wonderful sister Alalai. We have my wonderful brother Jorge. But of course, today we have a wonderful guest, and his name is Chris. Now, we brought Chris on today to tell his story, and we're gonna kind of let Jorge, give a little bit of why he brought Chris on and why Chris wants to tell his story.
Hey, yeah, before we get Chris on, man, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Everybody good? Adelaide, talk to me. You came in here with two wheel motion and
mhm.
how catch us up.
It's, it's been a day. It's been a day, but I'm good. I'm here. I had a very interesting encounter today. I love sharing these like stories with you guys. I had an encounter with someone today who let it know that it was my fault that they didn't pick up something that was theirs.
Okay. It's been a while
That
since I had to deal with that, but yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was I'm always learning from people and learning from my interactions and seeing like, okay, in what ways do I need to show up and take accountability and like, oh, it was my responsibility because it's my thing that I managed and yeah. So anyway, it was a wonderful day. It was a challenging day. But I'm ready for this podcast. So I'm good, guys.
Let's go. Let's go. DJ, how we doing over there, my brother? I know you wear
Hey,
many hats. How's
same,
everything?
same thing, man. Just a lot of stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? Vacation coming up, about to be pretty much I would say
Mm.
what will I say? I would say a 35% working vacation, but that's progress. That's progress. You already know how I usually am, so just
Okay.
trying to get better in life. That's all it is, man.
Hey, listen, man, I'm not even mad at you. I'll be honest with you. I like to still have some type of movement and vacation because when I do come back, it's just this catch up or whatever it is. And so if you could balance it out, still enjoy your moment, change. That's the beauty. Let's be honest. That's the beauty of what we do. I was just talking to shout out to Moose. I was just talking to Moose, and it was just a reminder that we get to work out of a laptop. We get to work and literally be on any part of God's green earth and still get that work done, but change the scenery. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And I believe that that brings creativity. That brings it just stimulates that energy. You get inspired. So I think 35 is good. You might tone it down a little bit to 20 in certain evenings when you with Megan. You know what I'm saying? And either get up extra early or go to bed a little bit later, right? Just where it's not interfering with her space and you and her. So that's where it stays healthy. But yeah, man, I hear you. Vacation. We're going on vacation to July. So I'm right behind you. DR, never been to DR, and I'm super excited. But just real quick, man, your boy's been able to go back to the barbershop, and I'm super excited about that because, be honest with you, man, I forget how much of an extrovert I am. I forget how much I need to be around people. I forget that you got to be true to who you are, and don't let nobody make you feel guilty for who you are. Like I believe that we're such a, especially in the in the space that we're in the development and the space that truly we always feel like if we're not working, going back to what we were just talking about vacation, that we're not accomplishing things. And I just like I'm realizing that Jorge needs sociable time. I need to interact with people. That's what makes me me and operate at a high level when I'm good with building relationship and just stimulating and exciting and being able to create ideas. So it's been a blessing to go back to the barbershop. Not only I've been able to create value in that space, but they've been able to create value in my space. And so it's been great. It's been good. Your boy, yo, Chris, and I'm gonna introduce Chris, but your boy still got the fire. You know what I'm
Do
saying?
you?
I
Does
shut
he?
yo
You
shut
believe him,
up.
Chris?
Let me
You
be
do believe
honest.
him?
Let me be honest with you. I got my barbers that like, yo, for real, you still got the eye. I was like, let's go. It's like riding a bike. You'll never forget. It's like riding a bike. But yeah, man, that's a different podcast. I just needed to share that because I've been super excited about it. Yeah. What was that?
I was real quick before you introduce Chris. I do want to go back to what you said a little bit on the personal development side of we have throughout the years we talked about how much we feel like we're not doing anything if we're not working. But over time, it definitely gets better with when you're putting stuff together, when you have strategies, when you have things organized. You get to a point where yes, you're working, but that's just because you want to. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Yes.
because you feel like
Yeah.
there's a fire in the background, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to throw that in there real quick.
Nah, that was good because guess what? I don't have to go to the barbershop. You feel
Mhm.
like that changes everything. I get to go to the barbershop. Guess what? I've been in there. People like, yo, I could start making appointments for people to come, and I'm like, nah. I'm just taking walk-ins. I'm just here. I'm here. I'm the Chris. I'm six man. I'm coming off the bench. I'm that. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm that OG that's still in the game. Come on, help out to clean out the finish the clean up the last cuts of the hours. You know, when you have the last 2 hours of the barbershop, everybody's tired and everybody just wants to wrap up. And there's like five people in there. They bring OG out and OG come in there, get his work, score his 10, 12 points, and we win in the game. So yeah, man, you're right. It's just when you get to a point that you are, and that's what this is all about, man. But again, we're gonna transition, and I just wanna take a moment and thank my brother from a different mother, my brother Chris, for joining us. And you guys know that we it's rarely the time when we bring any guests into the podcast, but we're looking forward to bringing more folks into the platform, sharing the platform, but just kind of giving a different perspective of that paralyzed to prospect mindset. And so, just to give a little bit of context of who Chris is and what he means to me personally, Chris is a gentleman that I met back many moons when your boy was, I don't know, Chris probably remembers when Jorge was about 19, had the curls, had the highlights, had the two hoops, walking with chancletas. And if you don't know what chancletas is, I had the sandals in the middle of winter. And he had that. Y'all think I have a heavy accent right now? I had even more of a heavy accent. And but I met Chris in barbering school, and we met through being in the program. We both went through the barbering program at Barbary Academy, and from that experience, we created a brotherhood. And it's been over 20 something years that me and Chris, we don't see each other every day, but we always check in. Chris always check up on the kid. And over the years, we shared times with his daughter, and his family, his brothers. Shout out to his brothers that are, really genuine men that I love to be around. We always, we turn around and we fellowship. We either eat, go work out. Chris and his brothers are all about fitness and all that stuff. But I'll let Chris know. I'll let Chris, talk a little bit about all that stuff. But the reason for us to bring Chris on this platform is not only because he's my brother, but he also has a story. And again, man, I realize and right before, let me share this before I let you go. Come on, Chris. Just yesterday, I'm at the barbershop, and I mind you, this is gonna be the transition into Chris coming in, right? Because this is what reminded me um, that we don't know who's going through what. And so it was we closed the shop is 10, it's open from 10 to 5. Usually there's three of us. I let everybody go, it was a little slower, and I ended up having two clients here. Chris, when you get into that space where clients come in last minute and you sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, it's only an hour before closing, but people start coming in. So I was finishing the haircut and there was this gentleman. This gentleman decides to sit there and then he tells me out of nowhere, he said, yo, let me go to the store real quick. Never came back. I wrapped up the gentleman. Come and start cleaning. He comes back like literally right at 5 o'clock, right? And I'm like, I had an engagement. I had a call to get on. I had things that I needed to do, and so he was just like, "Yo, like my bad." And I got a little upset and ticked off with him, right, guys? Like Alalai, I was just like, and I'm like, "Yo, so what you gonna get?" Right? And you can hear the tone of my voice and he started telling me. So I made a quick decision. I said, let me take this brother, and I set him down. I said, yo, how's your day? Man, my man started like when he answered, he said, not too good. And I said, what's up? Like what you mean not too good? He had just lost his 21-year-old son to heart
Mm.
failure, and so he starts bawling, and it reminded me. Holy Ghost, I don't lie, DJ. Holy Ghost checked me real quick. It was like,
Mhm.
you see what I'm like. How can I use you when you're not operating off of that? And it just reminded me that we all going through something. We
Hmm.
all going through something. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you've gone through, but we either coming into a storm, we're in the middle of a storm, or we are coming out of a storm. And so this opportunity for me to be able to share with Chris and let Chris come on the platform is because Chris not only an amazing man and an amazing father, amazing brother, but he has a story that and some challenges that life will hit you and come from all different angles. And not only I want him to kind of tell us where he comes from, where he's at, and where he's going, but also share with us what are those challenges and how are you doing to navigate through those challenges to get you on the other side of that prosperous mindset that we always talk about. So, Chris, talk to us, my brother. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys. Um, just to start off, it's hard for me, for example, to talk about things being somebody who sticks to himself a lot. I'm always the guy to help everybody else, keep things positive, moving, things like that. And you know, for me, it was always like I was always taught you can't help somebody else if you're going to through your own weakness and through your own trials and
Hmm.
tribulations and stuff. So I always kept to myself in order to help others, not knowing that it's kind of a disservice to myself, where I can't help everybody else and make my gas tank go to empty without having to recharge myself. So a little bit about myself. I come from Inglewood, California. You know, the gutter, basically, like having nothing, sleeping in the kitchen for years. The first like 6 years of my life, I slept in the kitchen in a cot. That's how like tough things were. Um, but luckily, we moved back over here. We moved to Massachusetts and stuff for a better life, and developed how to adapt and stuff like that. So jump into to really quick.
Real quick, Chris, before you go into that, right? Because I don't want our listeners to really go past that, right? I think I want them to understand, like when you say sleeping in the kitchen, like there's levels to things, right? And so, like how many in the house, right? I know that your mom and you guys came from originally from where? El Salvador, correct?
Yeah, my mother came from El Salvador. Yep.
So they went through the whole non-documented and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so shy
So they,
just that time in your life as a kid, man. Like I think it's important because this is where a lot of that programming starts, right? I want y'all to understand that
Hmm.
we go through certain things in life, and then we become a certain way, or we get certain results, and we react to certain things. But it's really if you start, it's not the cost. Sometimes we think that the problem is the cost. Well, it's not the cost. Like that's the effect of what's going on. What's the under? Why are you coughing? And so,
Yep.
like, I love for people to really identify, like, okay, I've gotten these results, I've gotten this, but why? Where does that come from? And I guess I want you to kind of throw a little bit. You don't got to get into deep, but it's some insights of like how many of you guys were at the house. What was the challenges that you could remember getting into this country? If so, or if you was born in the U.S.
I was born in Englewood. Yeah.
So from with the some from where you could remember and just understanding where your family came from.
Yeah. So my mother she brought us up, wanting knowing to help everybody else, engraving that in us. So she helped her brothers, two of my uncles, and they moved over here with us to Inglewood, and there was nine of us in a one bedroom apartment.
Yeah,
Now there were times where when I tell you I was sleeping in the kitchen, literally in a cot. Bedtime, break out the cot. Chris sleeps literally in front of the fridge, you know. And it was a tough upbringing, but it was a humble upbringing. Like
yeah,
we learned so much of what happiness is. You don't need money. You don't need everything else. And now that I look back at it, it's just it's like I wouldn't change a thing as to how I was brought up. For the simple reason that it made my family even closer. Me and my brothers are like tight.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's because of that. It's because of the struggle we went through. It's because of sharing clothes. Like I was like the last one down in the bottom, so I was getting the raggedy clothes. You know what I mean?
I,
But it was like we share that stuff. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yo, it's my turn to wear them jeans, or it's my turn to wear those pants. You wore them yesterday, that kind of thing. And it humbles you as you come up, and it makes you want to like fight for a better life. You see it on TV, you see it on other kids in school and stuff, and it lights that fire inside you to want to do better.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a lot of us,
Nah,
and
that's
that's
good. That's good. It reminds me, guys. Chris, if you don't know my brother Inky Johnson, but he speaks about two on top. There was six on the bed, or something. He breaks it down. There was two on the bottom, and that's real life, man. That's real life. You guys have any questions in regards to what where he's at right now? You guys good?
I have a question, but I'm going to wait.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, Chris. Man, again, I just want to get take this step by step. I want us to dissect right this journey because I think that even ourselves, when we tell our story, we kind of like water it down because we don't understand how impactful it has been, or how impactful it could be to somebody else listening to that journey. So go ahead, my brother.
yeah, and I always look at things that I went through, and I always think about it even now, how I look at my friends back then in the ghetto and in hard times, and I was like, this person has it worse than I am. I used to look at other friends who were even worse than I was. I was like, how is that possible? And at a young age, you start to learn these things where like there's levels to like how one person's upbringing, another person, or whatever. It got to the point where like my mother couldn't afford electricity, so she would pay the person upstairs to run an extension cord downstairs, and we would literally have one cord, and that we plug it in and watching TV. Hey, listen, guys, I gotta go to the bathroom. Unplug it, plug the lamp, and walk your way. And everybody's sitting in the living room waiting for you to come out just so they could watch TV again. So it was tough, being over there. But like I said, we came here, and to us it was a come up. Section 8 was a come up to us. Like everybody's like, oh, this dude's on Section 8. It was a come up to us. We were like, this is like the suburbs. This is amazing. Like we get this to stay in this apartment, and like, you know what I mean? And everybody was on us about being on Section 8, welfare, this and that. But like I said, to us, it was like a way up, and we were just navigating. My mother had no shame. She was happy about it. Um, so coming up, we learned here everything that we needed to do to survive and everything like that. We always stayed um, true to ourselves, and we had examples of what not to do. In a sense, my uncles that were here got into drugs, got into hard drugs. And it's one of these things where it's like you have to look at the mindset of what you want and what is it that you're seeing, right? So I took it as you hear a lot of people say, "Well, I came up with drugs, I came up with this, I came up with that." So it's in my genes to do this, to do that, and it's like a path they want to follow. Not exactly follow, but kind of they use it as an example, right? And
Yeah.
I use it as an example of what not to do. To this day, I've never smoked weed. I've never smoked a cigarette. I've never done any of that, and I was brought up around it. My family. I was like 5 years old, and I've seen my uncles using hardcore drugs and stuff, and I took it as an example of what not to be. Um, so coming up at 18, I developed a heart condition. I was homeless at the time, and I was sleeping out of my car. And my brothers probably don't even know this, but I was sleeping out of my little Honda and going to work, and literally driving around, coming back, sleeping in the parking lot, and going to work and stuff. And I did that for a while till I started to feel um, my health was declining to an extent. So I went to my brother's apartment, stayed there, and luckily I did. Within 2 days, I was in the hospital with something that's called pericarditis and myocarditis as well. So it got an infection in my heart and stuff, and I developed a chronic issue with my heart. So I had to deal with that at 18 years old, and it was tough. But it didn't stop me. I was like, what can I do to better my life now? That's when I jumped to Rob Roy and was like, you know what? Oh, I'm gonna change my careers. It's something I need to do to be better. Um, I jumped to that, did that for a while, dealing with the stress, depression, things like that at 20, 19, 20 years old was tough. We look at kids nowadays and we see them as like, oh, they're happy, they're this and that. You're young, you have nothing to worry about this and new, but they do. You know what I mean? They deal with a lot, whether it be bullying, whether it be stuff at home, pressures in general. And that's what I was dealing with at the time. And yeah, so I tried to change my life and be better. with my life and everything. At 25, I found out I was going to be a dad. When that happened, it was like a such a immense joy inside of me that I was like, I need to once again check my life and see what I can do career wise. What can I offer this little girl? Because at the end of the day, she's my legacy. She's what I'm gonna leave behind. So I need to better myself so I can show her a better example. I jumped to science and started my career there to where I'm at now. 15 years later, I'm a scientist doing research, oncology research, which is cancer research. Um, so I just to kind of show her where we came from, where we can be. There's like we're our own obstacles. We set those bars and stuff. So yeah. So as of late, I've been dealing with a condition that's came out of nowhere. Again, something that wasn't prepared for, but I developed a kidney disease, and it's something that they don't know how it happened. And I almost died. I was in the hospital, and again, it's me being my ego, my pride, telling me, "Nah, you don't need to go to the doctors. It's just a cough. It's just a cough." Ended up in the hospital with over a liter of fluid in my lungs, and it came from a kidney issue. Protein, everything, infection in my heart, infection in my kidneys, infection in my lung. It was a hard time, and still dealing with it to this day. Still trying to push forward and not let it define me. Like it's not gonna stop me, and I keep being as positive as I can be to everybody else. Um, and today I had a doctor's appointment, and they told me, you know what? It's not going away right now. We need to give you another infusion of this drug, which ironically is a drug that I use at my job for cancer patients. It's an immunosuppressive drug. And there's another infusion coming up in July, and it's a tough one, but just trying to deal with it positively and trying to move forward, and I wanted to come on here and share all this with people because I'm a introvert. I usually don't speak out, but then there's a lot of introverts out there that are going through things, that are going through similar things, that don't want to speak up, that are scared or just have that anxiety, that don't want to speak up. That it's like, you know what? Sometimes it helps because there's going to be other people that are feeling the same way as you, going through the same things as you, that can help and they need to listen. So that's kind of the reason why I wanted to come on and share my story with everybody.
That's
Nah,
huge.
I love it. I love it. I know you guys got some questions, but just before you do ask these questions, man, Chris, I appreciate you. And I just want everybody to know I know this man for many years, and this was tough for him. Just getting on this platform is tough for him not only to share, but just is out of his character and out of his comfort zone. But I believe that Chris is in a space in his life that he understands there's more than like this thing called purpose. We have to operate out of it, right? And so when we come into and when we are in and we have life, it's bigger than us. And so I just respect you for putting your story up front, right? And not only putting it up front, but really being uncomfortable with doing it, man, because you do see the value in it. You do see that this is going to help someone that does feel embarrassed to share that they are sick, that they are going through financial situation, or they're going through abusive relationship. I mean, this falls in so many different ways because I believe that generally, guys, right? We all believe that we're the only ones going through something, when because that's our truth. And so it's important for us to speak up and share it. And so I just thank you for allowing us and trusting us on this opportunity. But go ahead, guys. I know you guys got some questions for Chris, and we'll continue to rock out.
I just got just a quick little something. Like, in my opinion, it's crazy because you always say that you're an introvert, and even through your life you've been an introvert, but you've won being an introvert, right? I think that my biggest thing about it is it's okay to be an introvert, but what you're teaching people is it's like it's but when it's time to tell your story and you feel like it's going to help other people, you can't be that introvert no more. You have to be that extrovert, even if it's for a 45-minute podcast, right?
Right.
So that's just a huge takeaway that I got from your story and kind of just talking to you through this?
Mm.
Yeah, it's like I try to. There've been times where it's happened at work where I've spoken out to somebody and so forth, and just kind of mentioned certain aspects of what I'm going through, and they tell me, "Oh, I went through the same thing," or "I'm going through that. How did you deal with this?" And it became one of those things where it was just like somebody from work randomly will be in the same situation I am, or was in the same situation, and they have questions, and we talk, and it becomes like a brotherhood. You know what I mean? Of what we're going through, and regardless if they're introvert, extrovert, it's a commonality there where we talk and we just feel closer, and it's just like they're like, it helped me a lot, and that's enough for me. So that's why I was just like, you know what? I gotta step out of my box. I gotta say something. So
Let me ask you this, Chris. So as soon as I mean, again, the coming from a challenging, and I find it so it's interesting, right? And that's why I say perspective is everything, because I've gone through, um, I've heard a lot of stories, even myself, right? And I think that people always reflect back. This is why I still get the same results, because I went through this, and they always blame that past and that and somewhat that victim, mindset, or that victim, rightfully so, because listen, some people have sexually been abused, physically been abused, they've gone through poverty, like like you hear the story, but the fact that you not only said, that made us better, it got us together, it allows us, it taught me gratitude and wanting more. Like, can you, like, how, like, is that something that you naturally had in you? Is it something, was it a choice? Is it something that at one point in your life, there was a thought that, hey, listen, I can go smoke. Like, that'll make me cool. Maybe that'll put me in different environments. What is that thought process, right? Does that make sense?
yeah. So I just took it. There was a lot of times where peer pressure was huge. Everybody was like, "Oh, you drink, you smoke, anything?" I was like, "Nope." And it was a constant thing. Who's gonna be the first one to get Chris to smoke? Who's gonna be the first one to get Chris to do this and that? And it was like a challenge to most people because I didn't do it. Amongst all my friends, I never smoked, never did anything. So it just became a push. And for me, I just looked at my family, everybody that depended on me. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I looked at my uncles as an example, and I looked at them and I was like, they're not going anywhere. They're not achieving anything. I was like, it's in my genes to be an addict,
Mm.
right?
Talk to
And I
okay.
looked I can easily end up like that. So I took that and was like, you know what? That's not gonna be me. I won't let it be me.
Yeah.
So because of that, I always pushed, and growing up again, it became a thing where like even as grown-ups we get peer pressure, and people were pushing me to smoke, pushing me. Oh, it's not that big a deal, this and that. And I looked at it, I was like, anything that's gonna stand in my way to
Mm.
leave a great legacy for my daughter, I will not do or even attempt to do. So, it's something that it has become second nature to me. I just won't touch it, won't do it, won't be around it. And people lately have been very good at respecting that. So,
Yeah, and it's not just right. We're talking about drugs, but it's not just drug. I think that
oh,
people fall. I think people fall in other people's opinion of what your life should look like and how you should navigate your life. And you have to be careful. And I just love. I think in a different podcast we were talking, and I think I mentioned this to you guys. I just respect those individuals like you, Chris, that been able to navigate. Because Chris, I smoked around you, right? Like this is something. This is something. All right, don't be judgmental. Nah, don't be judgmental, but I'm clear. I'm transparent about this. I'm not a smoker no more. I don't drink. I don't like. I made. It took me a while for me to get to understand what Chris was already had in him and has seen, and everything around him could have said the opposite. And I'm intrigued. I've always said this. I'm a Henrock. Henrock. Shout out to Henrock. He's another brother that used to be around us and never smoked, never drink, and was just around all the foolishness. And now it's like, nah, I don't. We don't need that. Like we good. We chilling. Like you know what I'm saying. And I just always been able to uh, kind of look at and be inspired by that because I think it's a different animal. It's a different character. It's a different ability to be able to be your own person. And in the world where it's always trying to change you to become something you're not, and you still
Yeah.
operate of who you are, I think that's the dopest thing you could ever anybody could ever do. So I just shout out to you and everybody else that is out there holding themselves down with that pressure of life in general. So yeah, man. And Ella, like
Yeah.
you got anything for Chris?
Yeah, one of the things that I love that you brought up, Chris, which I hope people can extract this principle and use it because I think it's very practical, is that every so often you just took time to kind of evaluate where you were, what you had, what was going on around you, and then making a decision to say, I want my career to be better, or, I want something different. And then you try something different. It's something that's simple, but it's not. A lot of people struggle with that step. They struggle
Yeah.
to actually take the
Yeah.
time to look around and say, okay, yeah, I'm not going to complain about the fact I'm not happy. I'm just going to like make a decision to look around and say, I don't like the results that I'm getting right now, and I'm going to make a different decision. And it doesn't have to be something huge, right? Like for you, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to go to Rob Roy. We're going to do
Yeah.
something different, right? So I appreciate that. It's something so simple, but I think people miss that point that you can always stop what you're doing, take an evaluation, and then shift and make changes.
Right.
My question for you is, how did you, I'm going to say, stay tender in the
Okay.
midst of hardship?
Um, I guess it was a mindset of like I help nobody by if I put myself in a position of stress, in a position of um just kind of a negative mentality, right? So I try to stay humble, try to stay as well grounded as I could during all these times. During all these times, I could have pushed me to do something else. Because let me say this: I like I said, I was homeless, and at those point in times, there was people coming up to me, "Hey, listen, I could get you out of this mess. Why don't you just sell some weed since you don't get high? There you go. You're the perfect person to sell, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And it was a constant push, and I just kept saying, no, 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 I'm not going to do it. That's not who I am. So I needed to stay grounded and realize that my decisions make who I am and my family as well. You know what I mean? If I put myself in a position where I'm not thinking straight, they're going to judge me as a family should. They look at us and stuff. And I always just try to maintain the best that I could mentality and just character wise for my family. You know what I mean? If George could tell you, my family, we're tight. You know what I mean? My brothers, we're tight. Like we might not see each other every day or whatever, but like every day we know where everybody is and we know what everybody's about. So it was that mentality. Family was huge, and it still is huge for me. So I try to stay humble, try to stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So,
What it,
so just
I'm,
oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead. No, I'm just getting it up. You're good. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, another question I had was, another thing I had was, since you don't drink and smoke, right? It's
Mhm.
a lot of people quote unquote drink and smoke to get away from reality. And
Yep.
so, what was very interesting to me about you finding out about your heart disease at 18, most people they would they would shy away from any type of cancer research, any type of disease research because they don't want to know what's going to happen to them. You get what
Right.
I'm saying? The correlation between you not like drinking and smoking and not getting away from reality, and then going into an occupation where you're literally you're pretty much facing the demons head on is just crazy. It's very interesting to me.
Thank you. Yeah, I took it as the more I learn about it, the faster or basically gives me another tool to beat what I'm was put in front of me. You know what I mean? You know your enemy, you can defeat your enemy. So to me, it was like all these things that are happening to me. If I get into a position where I can learn about diseases, I can learn about the human anatomy, whatever the case may be, and that's when I learned that I had a complication with my heart, I put myself deep into fitness. I was deep into fitness because I was like, you know what? I'm not just gonna lay down and let this defeat me. So I became even more active, and they were like, you won't do this, you won't do that. And at one point, that's why I look at G and I'm like, you know what? Like I respect you so much because I had three back surgeries. So I'm sorry, two back surgeries, and I ended up paralyzed for my legs for like 2 3 weeks I couldn't feel my legs, and
Wow.
it was just swelling on my back and whatever, but I couldn't feel my legs. And so, they told me you'll never walk, you'll never run again, you'll never so forth. A year later, I went back and showed the doctors a completely different side of me. I was really fit, this and that, and I had just started playing semi-pro football. So it was like I took what they told me and I was like, that's not gonna be me. You know what I mean? So it was something where every hardship that I went through as a kid, as a child, really had engraved that fight spirit in me. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not gonna be that. I'm gonna be that 1%, that 5% that comes across this kind of obstacle and gets through it. So I always pushed.
But let me ask you this, Chris, because I think that's powerful, right? That's powerful. But I think for somebody that's listening right now, oh, that only happens to brothers like Chris, right? I think that people really, and I just want everybody to really hear, because right now you're going through a transition, and I think you haven't had the chance to kind of explain that right now, and maybe I'll give you a segue into it. But right after you found out that you have this challenge, this health challenge, put aside the heart stuff that you kind of learned at 18, you got laid off, right? You now, mind you, Chris, I think you haven't even tapped into the story that Chris is a single father. He's raised his daughter, like really, it's just been him, mom and dad at home, and she's what, 17 right now?
17 now. Yep.
17, beautiful young lady, that you've been very blessed to not only have in your life, but literally follow up with what you kind of said. It's creating the legacy, and she's a split image of you in all aspects of like just career, character. Like, bro, like, I'll be honest with you, it's just amazing because selfless, right? You put in your daughter first, and all that. And I think that I want people to understand that, your decisions design your destiny, and
Yep.
and I don't want people to over kind of like go over their head, because even now you're going through some not only health challenges but just life, and you still don't get out of character. And so I guess my thing is, because it's going back to what you've been talking about, like, help somebody right now that feels like they it's too hard to know that I'm having a hard situation. It's too hard to get laid off. It's so hard that I'm gonna pick up a bottle of some liquor. I'm gonna go and just sit somewhere and feel sorry for myself. Like speak on that, right? Because I think that people look at certain people like yourself, right? And they look at that like it would be nice if I could do that. And in my
Yeah.
thing, I've always tell people, like, we all have that inside of us, man. You just
Yeah.
you just got to make a conscious decision, because you have been making conscious decision, like Alalai said, from day one, even when you probably didn't understand how much of an impact that was gonna have on you now as an
Right.
individual, right? So I don't know if you can share some light just in that aspect of where you at right now in life and everything that's going on. And here you are. Here
Yeah.
you are on the podcast, sharing your story and thinking of others. Like, this is why I love you. I think you're a unique individual. I don't think I know you're a unique individual, and I'm always gonna be geeked to have you in my life, because these are the type of folks that remind you of purpose, remind you of serving, reminds you of I refuse to lose mindset no matter what life hits you with. And so, yeah, I just want your insight on that. I want you to share with individuals, like, what that thought process is for you.
Yeah. I think, one thing we forget is that we all have that opportunity to either sink or swim. We all have that. We all go through that mentality, and it's the people around you, or just people that might influence you to swim, right? And to me, everybody sees it as like it came to Chris easy. It comes to Chris easy to do this, to get this done, and this and that. It might not be that bad, but they just fail to look in deeper as to what I'm going through. I make it look easy. I'm always smiling. I'm always, because it helps. Not only does it help me, but it helps everybody else. But you know, it's these kind of situations where people see like it's so easy, but then we don't ask, "How are you?" A simple question, "How are you?" Right? So that goes deep for many people for many reasons, and they might be going through something, and you'll never know. So for me, it's one of these things where I try to have that strong mentality, and I try to be the best I can, but it's hard for me to show my emotions. It's hard to for me to show what I'm going through. You know what I mean? Because I want to help everybody, this and that. But at the end of the day, I go through my days. I go through my days where it's a lot, where it's tough for me. Just like everybody else. Everybody else needs to understand that it's not easy. The solutions don't just fall into my lap. There's days where most days I'm gonna be completely transparent here. I Most days I suffer from depression. I wake up and it's an hour, 2 hours of me fighting with myself to see the brighter day, to smile, to get myself up and move. And once I get that motion, it's then I start really looking at things and wanting to help other people and help myself. And that's what one thing that we tend to forget. We want to help everybody else, but we need to help ourselves so we can help others. And yeah, I think it's just one of those things where people just don't see the struggle. You know what I mean? So they think it's easy. It's a struggle every day.
So it's a decision.
That goes
Right.
definitely. And it goes back to checking on your strong friends. People may think since you're doing all this, you're killing the game. From the outside looking in, it's like you're the strong friend. So go to you for more. But it's like you also need to be checked on. So, you know what I'm saying? To a certain
Right.
extent. So,
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
going back to what I just said in the barbershop. Like I'm here and my emotions about I'm running a little late and how dare my brother come back when we close at 5. Mind you, he didn't even know we closed at 5. And after I asked him again, Chris, how you
Yep.
doing? Not too well. I just lost my son. Started bawling, and it just reminded me. And so we got to do better as people. We got to check in on people and don't ask how you doing just to be a format, right? I think that we in society, people really it's like, okay, how you doing, and then it makes you feel like people don't really care. That's why
yeah.
I'm always talking about, I'm blessed by the best. Like I don't know what else to tell you.
Yep.
But if you really want to sit down and talk to me and find out what's how I'm doing, well, yeah, I do have a couple of challenges, right? So yeah, man, and mind you, I just want to remind everybody, Chris is a scientist, but never went like Chris. Like I think how did you become a scientist? Because I think people feel like they need to go. This is when I believe in God will bring you from the back of the line to the front of the line, and then when you're about your business, you just put yourself in the room and you make things happen. Because anybody,
Yep.
before I met you, I'm like scientist. That means what 4 years, 4, 5, 6 years college,
Yeah.
degree. Like, but you never really went to college.
Yeah, and I think it falls. It really shines the light on something that if we follow what we think we meant to be like. I'm meant to be like my uncles to be drug users or whatever. I would have never seen my my basically where I can go. Right. So I was a welder at the time, and my I was told, "Hey, listen, you're about to be a father." I was like, "Oh, shoot, I don't want to come home dirty. I don't want to keep coming home like all filthy and grab my daughter and so forth and tired." And an opportunity came to me, and it was literally clean, like monkey cages, like clean crap, And I was like, you know what? They paid more than what I'm making now. It might lead to something else and so forth. And I went in and dressed for for the position I wanted. I was like, I know what I'm worth. I know what I was taught. So I went in, and there was this lady. I met with so many department heads. And there was this one lady that she looked at me. She was like, "You don't look like you should be cleaning cages." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know what that means," but she was like, "Well, you were well dressed, you're well spoken, and would you like to come and work for my department?" And I was like, "Don't know what you do." And she was like, "We do it's the metabolic and pharmacokinetics department." I'm like, "I Great. Don't know what that means." And she was like, "I'm willing to take a chance on you because of how you're dressed and how well you are, and we'll train you." I was like, "Sounds good." To this day, I say thank you to her every chance that I get because she started my career. I went into this career and I didn't stop where they told me to stop. When Charles River was the place where I started, and I'm thankful to them. And this company showed me everything I needed to know about this position, but I wanted to learn more. I was like, I'm not stuck here. So I transitioned over to another company who they showed me cell culture work and all this other stuff that I needed to learn. Every company I went to, I learned. I wasn't afraid to ask. Can you teach me? Can I have no? I don't have a degree, so everything that you teach me is another bullet point on my CV, on my resume, that's going to make me less expendable to the company. And so I
Mhm.
took that work ethic that I had from when I was in construction and when I was in other stuff, and I applied it to what where I was. And 15 years later, it took about like 12 years for me to earn that title of a scientist. And it was everybody else kind of is like, oh, whatever. To me, it was like I accomplished so much to get here, and nothing will
Mhm.
ever stop me from putting that at risk. So I hold that dearly and stuff, and I show my daughter like this is what I want from you. The work ethic, everything else that I'm showing you right now will get you to where you need to go. You just need to apply yourself. And I try to show her like this is the proof. I came from nothing, and I took her back to Inglewood, showed her where I came from, bawling, crying. I was like, this is exactly where I came from.
You
And
went
she
back and
looks
cleaned
at
her
me like,
room.
yeah, she was like, and then start handing out.
Yeah, yeah. It got real. Nah, sometimes you
Got
gotta
real.
do that. It got real. Sometimes you gotta do it. She come back and clean the like she was grateful to clean that room. Like, okay,
Yeah,
yes. Well,
yeah.
listen,
So,
man.
But I need
you
y'all.
know,
Mhm.
I need people to hear that. You know what I'm saying? I need people to really hear that. And I know, like, I got mad people from around my way that be tapping in to the podcast. I really want to say, like,
Mhm.
he's living and leading by example for his daughter. And I'm just going to say this because I know this is a situation that that just came to my mind or just came to my whatever the word is, just came to my attention, bruh. You say you want your kids to be great. You say you want your kids to, whether that's an athlete, whether that's a student, but when they're coming home, you're sparking up with them. When they're coming home, you weekends you taking shots with them. You get what I'm saying, bro? So you're saying,
Mhm.
if you look, you know what I'm talking to. You saying you want your kid to be great. You saying you want to lead by example, but you're literally doing the same thing your pops did with you, and you see where you are. You want them to be better. You get what I'm saying? So I did another takeaway. I, amongst many
Nah,
takeaways from this,
talk that talk,
is
man.
Yeah.
Talk that talk.
yo, like, bro,
Yeah.
lead by example, especially with your kids. Period.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
And I
that's
love
why,
that.
God,
Sorry, Chris. I just gonna say I love that you've shared so many different aspects of your story because I think multiple people can relate at some instance. So there are a lot of people that have grown up in the lowest of lowest aspects of poverty, right? Like they have struggled, and a lot of them are still battling it even as adults. There are
yeah,
people who are battling health issues. There are people who are trying to parent. And what I love about the way you shared your story today is you've been able to obtain a level of success while still having struggles. And you are growing and evolving in the midst of it. And I think sometimes people like think that the recipe to whatever they think success looks like means that you have no problems or that everything is fixed, like everything is perfect, and then the success comes. And that's not the case. Like you're actively dealing with health challenges, and yet you're still positioning yourself to, be in the role that you're in and have success in that. And I think that's very powerful. And I think people, kind of like DJ said, I hope they hear it and can grab it. They like there doesn't have to be perfection. Like there's going to be challenges, there are going to be storms, there are going to be challenges with health and finances and everything else, and yet you can still position yourself to grow and evolve and make the money, get the job title, take care of your family, whatever it is that's important to you.
yeah.
Yep, yep. Listen, Chris, as we about to wrap up, right? Two things. I want you to give everybody your final word. What you want them to take away from what you've gone through, what season you in, like what if there's that one or hundreds of thousands of people out there that are listening to this that is touching and is hitting them somewhat way of one part of your story or all the above, what is it that you want them to take away? And then and you do that with when we close, right? But before that, what's next? What's in the future for Chris, right? Because I think that if I was listening to this and we left it here, it's like, hold up, like what's next for Chris, right? I always like
Yeah.
to touch on where you came from, where you at right now, but what is that future for you? And then you could close them out with with a word.
Well, right now, it's focusing on my health. Um, got some things coming up, but I'm gonna stay positive through them. That's my main concern. But I do have some opportunities coming up for me in a higher scientific position, which is to me it's hopefully it works out well, but it's a great opportunity for me and to take my career into a next step. And it just and again starting with my health is basically going back to the gym. Um, Due to the health issues, I've let myself go because I haven't been able to go to the gym and focus on that part of the health. So I think it's getting back to that grind because that helped me a lot. So um, the gym is the next step. Now I think I got a little bit cleared where they're telling me I could go back to it to some extent. So yeah, hitting that grind again.
I'm taking I'm training new people.
Don't do it.
So
Don't do it. Do
Chris used to train me, mind you. No, this isn't
Yeah.
the Ella like Chris used to have me on the floor. We got content, we got footage somewhere that Chris used to put me in a CrossFit type of thing. So now I'm like, yo, bro, I need to
Now
train
your
you.
turn.
Yeah. We got Chris. Chris is a gym head. Like he had no respect for me being in a wheelchair and used to throw me on the floor, hide the chair, and have me jump rope. Like for real, for real. Like this dude was just sick in the head with all the. Y'all think I'm playing because yeah, he's so nice on the. But when it comes to the gym, he's a different man. I promise you. Uh,
As I am, as you should be, as you should be.
yeah, I
But
guess. Yeah,
before he even gives us the gym of the day, I'm gonna have to tell y'all. I'm gonna have to let y'all know. I'm about to go to the gym and I'm mad motivated. I don't know what.
let's go.
This is
All right.
mad motivated. So I'm gonna just let y'all know. Make sure y'all turn this mug on before the gym, on the way to the gym, and listen to it during your warm up because you're gonna be motivated your whole workout.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Give them that word,
So,
Chris.
yeah. So basically, what I want to say is, people, for everybody listening, your situation, your negative situation you're in, your upbringing, your negative upbringing, whatever the case may be, that doesn't have to define you. That doesn't define who you are or who you will be. Take what you want as success, whatever you see as success, put that in front of you and reach that goal. Don't let it stop you. Even then, when you reach the goal, set another goal. And that's going to keep you moving and keep you motivated. And just check up on everybody, including the people that are strong, including the people that you think are the ones that have everything lined up. They're probably the ones that need you the most as well. So something as simple as "How are you?" can be so different depending on how you say it and the emotion behind it. We could say "How are you?" to people, but then we look at something and say "How are you?" and it just hits different. So check up on everybody, including the people that you think are the strongest.
I appreciate you, Chris. Listen, man, it's been an honor and a blessing to have you on the podcast. You already know, guys, this is the Paralyzed to Prosper podcast, and we're always seeking to just find that what's that information to get us from that paralyzed situation, and that could be anything to you, whether it's finances, business, marriage, right, relationships, like whatever that is. We're always talking about life and business and how we could get to the next level. And so, Chris, once again, man, we appreciate you. We love to have you back, maybe in the future, and just a follow up of where you at and how everything is. And so, again, man, I wanna close with this. Remember, guys, life is what you make it. This is my saying. This is something that I've always lived by, and it's going back to like even hearing Chris, man. You have the power to make those decisions, and you when you decide, because not deciding is also making a decision. It will define your destiny, no matter what it is. So I would highly suggest that you take control of it and at least aim to shape it for what you want it to be and what you envision, what God wants you to be. Because guess what? If you don't, the world is gonna grab you, it's gonna shape it, and you're gonna get the results of what everybody else wants for you. So again, I love y'all. Continue to walk forward. And to the next episode, you already know we're gonna continue to be blessed by the best. Let's go.
Thank you.
Y'all